Hello, everyone. This is Globe. Today I am headed to Shiloh, Tennessee, to the Shiloh National Military Park. My family is with me. My daughter is teaching her boys about the Civil War, and what better way to bring things into focus than to take them to an actual preserved Civil War battlefield? This park covers nearly 4,000 acres. There is no fee to enter the park. Come along with me, Globe, as I explore Shiloh National Military Park in Shiloh, Tennessee. we downloaded the park's app and took the self-guided driving tour. Listen to a couple of things we learned along this self-guided tour.
Introduction. Welcome to Shiloh National Military Park. This driving tour covers 12.7 miles and normally takes about 3 hours. As you drove into the park today, you probably noticed a number of monuments and cannon. This park was established in 1894, and they were placed to mark the positions of military units during the Battle of Shiloh. You may wonder how the terrain has changed since the time of the battle in April of 1862. One major change to keep in mind is that in most places, the wooded areas had much less undergrowth and were clearer than today. This was a farming community, and the farmers let their livestock run loose, with the result that most of the undergrowth had been trampled or eaten. Where the cannon appeared to be pointed at thick woods today, you would have been able to see several hundred yards in 1862. Many people wonder why a major battle was fought here, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. For the answer to that, you need to look no further than the river only 200 yards east of the parking lot. With the capture of Fort Henry, north of here, the Tennessee River provided a swift invasion route for Union forces into the Confederate heartland. By April 1862, a Union army of more than 38,000 men, commanded by U.S. Grant, had disembarked here, and at Crump's Landing, 6 miles downriver to the north. They were preparing for an attack against a strategic railroad junction at Corinth, Mississippi, only 22 miles to the southwest. However, a Confederate army under the command of General Albert Sidney Johnston struck first, delivering a surprise attack on Pittsburgh Landing, where the bulk of General Grant's federal troops lay encamped around a log church called Shiloh Meeting House. Named for the church, Shiloh exploded into one of the most decisive and vicious battles of the Civil War, and proved to be the deadliest combat Americans had experienced up to that time. Nearly 24,000 men were killed, wounded, or reported missing in 2 terrible days of fighting. This 22-stop audio tour will explore key events, people, and places that influenced the outcome of the Battle of Shiloh. Stop number 1, Grant's last line. 2:30 p.m., April 6, 1862. Across the road from the Iowa State Monument, you will see 2 large 24-pounder siege guns and 1 stubby 8-inch siege howitzer, marking the position of Battery B, 2nd Illinois Light Artillery. Colonel Joseph Dana Webster, Grant's chief of staff, was ordered to place infantry and artillery units in line here after they came off the battlefield and were resupplied. He had men detailed to drag 5 24-pounder iron siege guns, normally pulled by oxen, from the boats at the landing to take a key position in the defense. Around the nucleus of this heavy artillery, Webster eventually placed over 50 cannon and 20,000 infantry to hold back the Confederates at the end of the day. Union forces were thrown into a temporary panic when Gage's Alabama battery unlimbered on the other side of the ravine and started firing toward the landing. A cannonball took off the head of Captain Irving Carson, a volunteer scout who was accompanying Grant. Soon the Union side would get a morale boost from the arrival of reinforcements. General William Bull Nelson had arrived in Savannah at Grant's headquarters the evening of April 5th and had been advised he could march to the bank opposite Pittsburgh Landing to be ferried across. Hearing the noise of battle, Nelson sent the message to his men struggling through the black mud swamp. Colonel Amon, the general, sends his compliments to hurry up or all will be lost. The enemy is driving our men. On reaching the opposite bank, Nelson and his staff were ferried across the river. Nelson was appalled at the thousands of shirkers he witnessed cowering under the riverbank. When the gangplank dropped at Pittsburgh Landing, Nelson shouted to his staff, "Gentlemen, draw your sabers and trample these bastards into the mud." General Bragg was still pushing the Confederates forward, saying, "One more charge, my men, and we shall capture them all," when a staff officer, Major Numa Augustine, came forward with a message from Beauregard. "The general directs that the pursuit be stopped. The victory is sufficiently complete. It is needless to expose our men to the fire of the gunboats." Bragg responded, "My God, was a victory ever sufficiently complete? Have you given that order to anyone else?" When he said yes, Bragg said, my God, it's too late." The fighting was over for the day. Grant's forces had been pushed out of all but one of their camps and had over 2,200 men captured. They had barely held on to the landing, and some of Grant's officers talked of planning a retreat. Grant's response was, "Retreat? No. I propose to attack at daylight and whip them." The battle was not over. The next day, April 7th, would decide who would claim victory at Shiloh.
There were so many more powerful stops along the way, but we had to cut it short in the 95-degree heat. The Battle of Shiloh was fought in 2 days, April 6th and April 7th of 1862. It is said to have set the stage for the downfall of the Confederacy. This is the site where nearly 110,000 American troops fought a bloody battle that resulted in Union casualties of 13,047 and Confederate casualties of 10,699 men. The 2-day battle was the bloodiest battle in American history up to that point. We worked up an appetite after that tour. We asked people in nearby Savannah, Tennessee, as well as Shiloh, their food recommendation. All three said you have to go to Haggis Catfish Hotel, and all three said be sure to get there early. Now I know why. The food was delicious and the portions were huge. The staff was friendly. The Catfish Hotel sits way off the main road alongside the Tennessee River. I asked for a whole catfish platter. I didn't know there would be 4 whole catfish on that plate. It was so good. And don't forget to ask for the hush puppies. After your meal, you can take a stroll along the river. Thanks for coming along with us. We learned so much today and are planning a return visit in much cooler weather. Now it's time to head back to Memphis, and we'll pick you up on the next drive.